Good morning again, and welcome to the Backpack Trader Training Room Crude Oil Inventory Report session for Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. This room is for educational and information purposes only. It is not individual financial advice. Trade your charts, not mine. Trading of this type carries substantial risks and should only be attempted with funds you can afford to do without. Right, this is our final session today. We have Spotlight Crude on the right, unleaded on Spotlight, upper left, Counterpunch 377 tick chart, something a little different on the lower right. Slide. We did come back from. Okay, now then, that's going to be, yeah. So money management is going to be at 98. As well as target 2. So 10 tick minimum target. That's a get in sync. We won't deal with get in sync trades at this point because I want to see new setups after the report. I don't want trades before the report because that's not the same market necessarily dealing with after the report. All right. Less than 2 minutes to the report. Minute 35, minute and a half. There's a new long trade. That's before the 50 seconds to go. Mark this one up. I'm not looking to get involved with this one because it is before this. All right, 30 seconds to go. We'll wait 2 minutes before we start taking trades. Unleaded is flat, and the 377 tick counterpunch has gone too far. So those are definitely off the table. Report coming out. There it is. All right, there's the top of the reaction range for the moment. And then not a very big reaction at this point. That's the bottom. $87 to 03, 86 now. Minimal reaction to the report itself. Seems like maybe some downward pressure. Okay, minute 15 in, 45 seconds to start taking trades. Not interested in this trade at the moment on Spotlight Crude. Flat on unleaded. That trade on the 377 is, that to me is a reaction trade. So I'm looking for a new setup there. Now that one I would take. There's a short trade. One tick above. Yeah, I think 82 is probably a good entry point for that. Get below this little swing. So that brings the money management down to 72. Oh, need to go down one more. That's one of those 5% arts. Okay, that trade has canceled. Two closes above the signal line there. Please do say hello in the chat. BJ, if you're here, as soon as we kind of settle down a little bit after our trading in the report, I'll be glad to answer the question you were wanting to ask as it was time to close the prior stream. There we go. And there is a new trade. Second chance on counterpunch. Same stop. This is going to be a 10 tick minimum trade. Target 2 is 10 ticks. As I said, I'm not interested in that trade before the report came out. Basically, we've got almost no reaction at all. We got this one excursion, one tick beyond the reaction range from 62.84 to 63.03. 19 tick range, 19 tick reaction range. Short on the 377 tick crude chart. Right there. So we'll look, that's from 88. We'll look for money management and target at 78. And there it is. So that's that quick. We still have the trailing position on. Stop comes to 87. I would actually like to see that crude trade stop out so we can look for another trade. Not, yeah, that's a 200. Too far above the 50 to get a trade. All right, trailer comes down to 83 on counterpunch, 377. There's a stop out on crude. That gets our trade before the report out of the way. Now we're below our original reaction range, so that could prove interesting. Not a lot of movement here. Another move down with a couple of ticks on the 377, 62.81. That's 7 ticks on the trailer so far. And stopping out. So 17 ticks for 377 tick on the inventory session. Full crude contract is $10 a tick. And that was a risk of 13 ticks. So risk, now we actually risked 26 for that 17. So that's the problem with those little small trades, is that the risk reward ratio just isn't very good. Our unleaded and spotlight crude both still flat now. Both flat at this point. Looking for their first trades in this inventory session. And the rate things are going, BJ, if you're here, I can go ahead and see about answering your question while things are pretty slow. Possible long trade coming here on the spotlight crude. And it's pulling down, but entry would be 91 at this point. And with 50 at 92, I would push that up to 93. Make a 2-tick adjustment. The large at this point, we go up from here, the bar will close at 89. Plotted entry would be 91. And notice we have positive blue bars down here, so that means we have an oversold condition and can get a long trade. So it closed down. Changes at 80. Plotted entry is still going to be 91. Make the entry 92. It keeps pushing down now. Still 91. 92 is still a good entry. We go lower. It's going to come below 90 now. Oh yeah. Now we have the possibility of a short trade. $64. That would be coming off the 50 EMA. So that would be a 50 pullback. Actually, I think that might be the preferred trade here. Still nothing unleaded. There's the trade. Put in a sell stop limit at 64. All right, that's triggered in. So our targets are 43 and 32. And I've got to take care of this trade over here. And we have target 1. Almost target 2. I'll take care of that in just a minute. Unleaded still with nothing. All right, so let's see. Let's get the stop where it belongs at 63. And we'll go ahead and attach it to the order, or attach it to the indicator rather, which is something I like that the trader can do. Attach it to the trailer. And it just hit target 2, so the trailer doesn't matter anyway. So we're looking for trades on unleaded. And it's good time for questions. I didn't even get to mark that one up good. That was a nice big trade. 21 and 32, 53 ticks, $530 on that trade. And the risk was 27.54. So we did get to a 1-to-1, essentially a 1-to-1 reward ratio, risk reward. That was where money management level was. Let's look at the orders on the targets. Certainly. I can do that, BJ. Do they? Let's see. In fact, let me. What email are you using? Because I don't have access to back-end systems. Yeah, that's the problem. If you type it in here, it'll be available, publicly available, and that's why I was thinking I was just about to ask you about phone number, and I said no, I don't want to do that either. Tell you what. Let me put my email in here for you to send me a note. There's my email. Yeah, I understand that, but is it under BJ or is it under another name? Drop me a note and I'll make sure to forward it to Troy. Is it a trade station question or a strategy question? Okay. All right, Joan. Okay, yeah, drop me a note, and I will make sure to forward that on to Troy. Oh, okay, you're signed up for the boot camp coming up this Saturday, I think it is. Troy mentioned that in the office hours yesterday. Now, when you say you had issues signing in, the boot camp is on Zoom. You're talking about, have you had trouble signing into Zoom? Because the room won't actually open for sign in until usually about a half hour before the boot camp. There's a long trade on unleaded, which is our only active chart at this point. That did trigger in. Oops. Hold on, money management. Well, there. All right, that's moving well. So there's money management. So stock will come up. Entry was 556, so it'll be 557 for money management. There's target 2. Target 1, 593. And we did get that, so target 1 traders will be done. Okay, that's fine. Yep, I'll have to pass that on to them. And stopping out on unleaded. Same situation as the morning. So the morning session, target 1 traders go one and done. Target 2 traders just got 2 ticks, and we'll have to wait for another trade. But that's the only one going right now. Spotlight was one and done. Spotlight Crude was one and done. 377 tick counterpunch was one and done. Those are the kind of sessions we definitely like. Right. No, not close enough to any. We've got an oversold reading on unleaded, so not going to get a pink short. And we're strong trending down, so that's definitely not going to get a green trade to the short side. We can get green trades to the long side at this point. Actually, not. We had a successful green trade. So that trade is off the table unless we dip below zero and come back up. All right. We do have an oversold, so we could get a blue trade. Now let's see. Did we get a? Okay, the close was 60. Okay, we did that one did close a tick above, so we do have the possibility here, should have the possibility of a long trade. $68, $88, $91, no, $90, $92 at this point. Nope, it went down. No problem, BJ. Glad to try to help. I'm glad your issue is taken care of and you're all set for the boot camp. No problem. You're always welcome in these rooms. This room is fully open to the public. So questions are always welcome. trade related or not. I'll try to keep it mostly on the trading side. There's a long trade, as I was possibly expecting. That did trigger in, it looks like. That was at 86. Session low for crude, 62.15. Crude's been falling a bit lately. I'm going to wrap this up. Second money management trade in positive would be power quitting on unleaded. Preferably we go to at least get something on the trailer or go to target 2, which is our goal target. And what I'm seeing there from unleaded, I'm thinking this looks a bit like a bearish flag. I wouldn't be surprised to see it start down again. But that's a pretty strong down move. $10.30 to $10.50. Crude making the same down move. Crude is kind of going sideways. Not liking seeing the 50 move down below money management either. Testing the 50 EMA, at least getting close. Let's see what happens here. Trend strength is down well below zero again. So rise above zero, depending on where the trend is going, will give us a possibility of green trade in the opposite direction. Looks like I kind of lost my viewers after about 11 o'clock. I don't blame them. This is not much going on. So which will be stronger? Support the 20 simple moving average, the blue line, or the resistance from the 50 moving average, the gold line? At some point, it will break one direction or the other. Crude looking like it may start pushing down here. Crude pushing down toward its session low again. Unleaded not following yet. It's actually been following crude fairly well this morning. Expand that. So that's really the only one we're looking at. Steadily rising activity level going into the London and Frankfurt market opens. Pushing the new highs at 831 and then falling That was about 8:30 this morning, between 8 and 8:30, and now since falling to new session lows at 5:07. So 320 ticks. Pretty good sized range. And not much since the. I hadn't really looked to see what the range was, and then that now it's not surprising me that we didn't have much of a reaction from the inventory report. Let's go back up there and keep an eye on it. Crude bouncing up off of the back to its 20 SMA. Just kind of going zebra stripes. Not much going on. Still sideways. Not much to watch here. It's got to go somewhere, sometime. The question is, how long do we stick around and wait for it? Being as that's the only chart left, and essentially we're just waiting for a breakout at this point. All right, there is a possible stop and reverse short. All right, plotted entry is at 62. We put it at 50. Stop and reverse at 58. Use a 4-tick stop and reverse adjustment, just because the speed that this market can move at, and it's a pretty small tick value, $4.20 a tick. It's one of those things where it can inform you, but based on, you test your trade plan. Now that may be part of your trade plan, and we have a close at the stop, so that definitely cancels the short trade. Trying to get through the 50. But you may test that and use it in your trade plan. But you want to do that consistently. That's something I haven't tested, so it might be a technique that's worthwhile. But what I've tested works, and so I stick with it. But even if you don't particularly like the setup, if it's a trade plan trade, you still are going to take it. And this one was one that I didn't particularly like, but I would have bet on if I were betting on it, I'd bet on the short. But it looks like we may get money management after all. Or we may not. How strong will the support at the 50 or the resistance at 50 be? So far, it seems to be pretty strong. And now we pull back and try one more time. You test your trade plan so that you have a statistical advantage across a large number of trades, and then you have to trade the plan. If you're putting other things into it that you don't have in the trade plan rules, you're not trading what you tested. Is the key to that. Now, if you can test using those 4-hour levels, great, but you got to have enough data to give you a good idea of what happens. Have you got 100 to 120 trades in those particular levels to base your use of that on? And we did hit money management, so this will be the final trade. $6.18. Looks like we got it. $6.19. Yeah. So money management. Target one's not even in the picture because target one trading target one is done already. Okay, we got up. What? It's not 26. Yep, 27 for the high. Target 2 is up at 43. Crude still seem to be pushing up. Got pushing through the 50 EMA and the 50-cent level. So we can get a close here. Up close here. That'll be a good sign. It'll definitely be a positive sign for the trade. Unleaded trade. Since that's obviously BJ, what do you consider 4-hour levels? Since we're at a new session low, you're obviously going back to prior sessions. If it's sitting at at 4-hour levels. Always helps to clarify what we're talking about. All right, stock has moved up. Now at 597. So we're going to get some profit out of this one. That's right. We need to stop and reverse cancel. So we're back. We're looking at the entry over here. So we've got 11 ticks on the trailer so far. Okay, so you're basically looking for support and resistance levels. How far back? Okay, it looks like we may stop out on the trailer here. Okay, so you're actually looking at so are you looking at swing levels on the 4-hour chart for support and resistance? So you're basically looking at a year, looking back a year. And we did stop out. So 22 ticks on that trade, 2 ticks on the first trade, 24 tick net, $72. It's a small win, but it's a winning session nonetheless. And that's what our whole goal is just keep compounding on those winning sessions. And grow the account. Yeah, but the question is, how far back are those support and resistance levels good for? Now, obviously, a year back, how much good is support and resistance at that point? All-time highs, we're not anywhere close to all-time lows, or all-time highs for that matter. We're kind of right in the middle. All-time highs are somewhere around 130, 135, and all-time lows are down in the sub $10 levels. At the $60 levels, from an economic standpoint, we're in a pretty good place for the industry, or not a good place, but a place where the industry is not losing money to bring oil up to the surface. Oh, I'm not saying that the support and resistance levels you see on 4-hour charts, they're probably very significant. But I'm just saying how far back are they? Beyond about 30 to 60 days, how much of that really is going to be significant going forward? Days like today, we've had 300 tick range and unleaded. Now things are going down again. But we are done on all charts. Any other questions or comments this morning? Good discussion. So let me ask this question: how do you bring those levels forward on that from that 4-hour chart to those support and resistance levels? How far back do you look and bring them forward? Do you have an indicator that brings those forward, or do you have to do that manually? Okay. So that's okay. So you're basically looking at quote unquote near term support and resistance on the 4-hour chart, and then just transferring that to whatever chart you're trading. So it is. I'm assuming that it is an indicator that you're using on the 4-hour chart. What? Okay. Then what is that line based on? You said it's a continuous line. It's just based. Is it based on swing levels on the 4-hour chart, or what? Okay. Horizontal, or will it have a slope to it? Basically, it sounds like you're using essentially a trend line. Okay. So that, yeah, you're essentially looking at near-term support on the 4-hour chart. So based on that, you really don't need to go back, you know, 360 days. If you went back 30 days, you'd probably have enough data. And the other side of that too is given the uh, expiration date, especially for crude, you're only going to be looking back up to, you know, 30 to 50 days on a particular contract, because with in crude at least, contracts expire every month, and we're always working in essentially the front month contract. We, rather than the official rollover days, we look at when the volume transitions from one contract to the next, because we're more interested in is the volume going to be on the where's the volume going to be on the contract, and we want to be trading the contract that has the greater volume. Because when you look at the continuous charts, what's happening is it's adjusting from one contract to the next based on the differential between the ending price for one contract and the price the price at the time of the new contract when the prior contract ends. So there's an adjustment there that you really, beyond that 30 days or so, how accurate is it? The exact levels where support and resistance may be, or where you'll see the support and resistance on a chart, aren't necessarily where they actually were. So that's one other thing to keep in mind. But yeah, as long as you're staying on fairly current contract chart, that's certainly a very quite valid to see thing to use. Well, yeah, and it's a matter of crude. Yeah, crude is a different animal. Crude, crude unleaded. The energies are all, single month contracts. Gold, soybeans, wheat. Some of those are like every other month. Your market indices, Russell, YM, the S&P, the Nasdaq. Those are all 3-month contracts. So each one futures is each different type of market is a little bit different because of the expiration parameters. Because if you actually limit it, if you don't pull in prior contract data and adjust that, then you're just working with the current contract data. And of course, that can get real interesting prior to the volume coming over to that contract. Can be all over the map. Once the volume comes into the front month contract, then those things can be fairly significant. You got to be careful how you use that data. Just things to think about. It just depends on the markets you tend to trade. You use it looking back, you know, at least three, really up to 3 months or so on an E-mini or on the market index charts. Absolutely. Looking back 3 months on a crude that expires every month, and maybe not quite so valuable. But no, I certainly don't disagree that using the support resistance from a longer time period chart is absolutely a valid thing to do. The only issue is when the market's moving quickly, do you have, hopefully you already put that on the chart before the market, you get to your start time or whatever, and how fast is the market moving? In case of today, crude had about $1.30 in range or so. In fact, it's just gone to a new session low. And it's got right at $1.30 in range. So that's 130 ticks. We were looking at unleaded, has like 300 ticks today in range. So, 4-hour support and resistance can be interesting, but depending on the character of the market on a particular day, how it's trending and so forth, it may or may not be of great use. And a horizontal line for that support and resistance may or may not be the right way to look at it either. You might want to consider looking at more of a trend line that has a slope to it. Because support and resistance levels are not static, so they don't just go horizontally across the chart. They'll tend to move up or down with price action a little bit. All right, good discussion. I'm afraid I'm going to have to close it down this morning. We've been at this one for an hour and 15 minutes, which is a long session for the crude inventory session. That you might be interested in, because do have one of the counterpunch, or not counterpunch, Spotlight does have an EMA cross setup built in. It defaults to 521, but you can certainly change that to the 820, 8 or 9. The thing we use most often in Spotlight and in Counterpunch is this. You notice this dotted line here. That is a proprietary indicator that Troy uses, but it's a 9 period. So that's not an unusual thing to use. We use that in, obviously, short trades have to be below it, long trades have to be above it. And we use that on many different markets, but we're still using the 9 period in most markets. Soybeans being the one exception that I can think of right off the top of my head. And of course, this dark blue is a 20 simple moving average, 50 EMA, and 200 EMA are the ones that I have on these charts. But yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it, and that's why one of the things we do stress is test it. you've got to know where your statistical advantage is, because if you're not trading a plan that has a statistical advantage, you ultimately are just shooting in the dark. Yeah, you're used to seeing the signal line then. And the only difference in CPX, this is the full counterpunch on Crude here, just a 377 tick. But that you can use it. We've used a five tick range, an 8 tick range, or momentum depending on what your platform. I haven't worked with Catapult LE since Troy put that out. The thing I like about, I'm not as excited about Catapult. It does some good things, but the single bar setup, to me, you tend to have to get larger bars to get enough breathing room for the trades to go somewhere. Because the trades tend to be a little much smaller because they're single bar setups versus the 3-bar setup of counterpunch or spotlight. I tend to like a trade that has a little bit more room, but also has a little bit larger targets. So that's just the way I'm more comfortable trading. So whatever you prefer is what you want to, and that's part of the process of doing the beginning work is what makes you most comfortable as a trader. Of course, yeah, you see the HT chop on the counterpunch trade, counterpunch, and of course the signal line. The balance line on spotlight is the same as the signal line on counterpunch. It's the 9 period. But yeah, all kinds of good ideas. The key is test them. And test them in a way that you have concrete rules. That's the tough part on some of these things, is getting to concrete rules so you can know what you're testing. Yeah, good session. Thank you. I need to get going myself. Have a good afternoon, and we will hopefully see you again. Regular session tomorrow at 9:30, and I believe regular sessions next week. I'm coming up on a trip the end of the month. Last week of the month could be a little strange, and I will be offline the first 3 weeks of September. So just for planning purposes. So we will see everybody tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Have a good one.